Before we get into the show today, I have to offer up a special warning. This is an explicit episode. I would rate it NC-17, so make sure the kiddos are not around or you're in a place where you can listen to this privately, because the guest we have on today is none other than Mr. John McAfee. And he is not one to mince words when it comes to how he feels, how he expresses himself. So there's a lot of strong language on this one and a lot of interesting ideas. But it was an absolute honor to have him on simply because he is a one-of-a-kind individual. He is the person who started the antivirus software industry. So with that, let's get into the show. Oh, hello. Fancy seeing you here on a Monday morning, but glad you could join us. Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Each week we will be interviewing local, regional, and national business leaders to give you an inside peek into how they lead their businesses to success in an ever-competitive business climate. So pour yourself a hot cup and enjoy the show. Welcome to a very special episode of Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. I have an amazing guest today. Mr. John McAfee is a software programmer, software designer, operating systems architect, software consultant, serial entrepreneur, former presidential candidate, cryptocurrency evangelist, and one of the freest men on the planet Earth. John, it is an honor to have you on the show. Welcome.
Thank you for that glowing but horrendously inaccurate introduction.
Yeah,
I wish all of that were true. But
yeah,
thank you.
Well, true. Yeah, probably the freest men on the planet. You would disagree on, but yeah. Well, if you could start us off by maybe telling us a little bit more about the early John McAfee. What drew you to math, software development, and then ultimately the start, McAfee Associates?
Well, laziness drew me to math. I mean, every mind is different. I have one of those minds that math just came so easy to me. Memorizing shit like history and Latin. I don't know if they even teach Latin anymore. Probably not. It's worthless language. I did terrible. But math, I got straight A's. I never had to study. All I had to do was take the textbook, take it home, spend a few hours reading it because there's not much words in math books. Close it. I'm done. In college, I never had to show up for class. I just showed up for the first day, got the text, made sure I knew what I had to be turning in at which time and what exams were coming up. And that's all I showed up for. That's all I showed up for. And I got straight A's. So laziness got me into math. I regret
that is an interesting take
to people, but that was the truth. What got me into computing was luck. I was still studying math. Why? Because it still came easy to me. I'd gone to graduate school at Louisiana State, then moved to Virginia Polytechnic Institute. I just decided to take it somewhere off, got a part-time job at General Electric, and they moved me instantly because of my math skills into their process automation computing division. God damn. Figuring that once I got a taste of that, I wasn't going to go back to school, and I did not go back to school. Computing, which is just math, applied practically. And in fact, it's the simplest of all fucking math. It's a binary system. We deal with a decimal system. Good God Almighty. All the possibilities of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in all these combinations, horrific. No, binary, 0 and 1. That's all there is, dude. And so the operations upon them are trivial. They've got Boolean operators and or exclusive or magic, by the way. And then simple things like add, subtract, multiply, divide. That's it, people. Well, some other shifts. Shift left, right, shift X bits, shift right, X bits. Who gives a shit? Generally, it's trivial math. So good God, I fell into heaven's lap and went on from there as the star programmer of the early 1970s. This is the truth, people. and ended up with some fascinating jobs. I worked for NASA's Institute for Space Studies in New York City. Now, that was a blast, stoned and drugged out of my mind most of the time, but I still, in spite of all of those brain cell losses, managed to glean a fair amount of knowledge. I worked for Lockheed on black programs. These are programs that don't even fucking exist. And only the top at the top at the top get into them. Now here's the story for you. Okay, so I'm at Lockheed, which is now Lockheed Martin. And I'm approached by some high-level official from God knows what agency. I mean, the badge that was flashed was 3 milliseconds and closed and back in the pocket, but whatever, that they have been considering me for a black program. In order to do that, I have to pass the test for top secret security clearance. So I went in my boss's office and I said, listen, this is not going to happen. Listen, you know who I am. I mean, they're never going to give me a top secret clearance. So he goes, well, just roll with it. 2 weeks later, I took the test. A whole fucking day in which they asked me things like, did you ever fuck a sheep? Did you ever cheat on your wife? Yes. How many times? As often as I could. Why? Because I knew these motherfuckers, you don't lie to them. They're going to know. Mm-hmm. So they already knew before I even fucking came in. I don't know why they bothered. Did you ever take drugs? Yes. What kinds? Let's talk about what kinds I didn't take, because that's a much smaller set. Did you ever sell drugs? Yes. What? Everything. Why? To make money. So after that day, I went back and I told him, I said, it ain't happening, so don't worry about it. I'll be working for you. A week later, my security clearance came through in record fucking time. Now, I ask you, what sort of idiot gives me a top secret security clearance, even though in those intervening 30-some years, I have never once divulged anything about what I did. So I've kept to the letter of the law. And I'm, as I got older, I started thinking, well, maybe there is some wisdom. I mean, ain't nobody ever going to blackmail me over what? What have I not willingly and openly divulged? So in any case, I'm sorry I got off on a track, but that was Lockheed.
Well, yeah, but
McAfee.
Go ahead. Yeah, McAfee. Lead into McAfee.
No. McAfee. We're right at McAfee now because McAfee was right after Lockheed. So that's why I picked Lockheed. So now I'm working at Lockheed, and it's a Sunday morning, and my brother-in-law, a worthless motherfucker who is my wife's brother, doesn't like work, and I've been supporting him for 2 years, living with us. It's hard enough living with a wife and her brother. But in any case, he's reading the paper out loud. Hey, listen to this, John. Computer virus. To go, computer virus? Give me the fucking paper. So I'm reading this article about this thing called the Pakistani Brain. Mm-hmm. And it named itself the Pakistani Brain virus. Now, according to the descriptions, it propagated itself, tried to keep itself alive. And when it found out that it could do no further propagation, it destroyed the host by wiping out the disk or disk on the computer. This is 1987. So I'm reading this, I'm going, fuck me. Because no one has ever considered a program that could be what we called alive. Viruses are alive. But what is living things? It's basically defined by an urge to propagate and an urge to survive. Well, fuck me. That's sure as hell what computer viruses are. So in any case, I started thinking about it. And later on, I got a copy. But even before I got the copy, I go, I see how they did it. Mm. And in instant, I go, well, listen, this will stop it. So I just wrote a little program, put it up on my own bulletin board system called Homebase, the largest bulletin board system in Silicon Valley at that time, had 32 phone lines, okay? And we didn't have internet back then, people. So this is how we communicated. And so the way it worked is my users, the thousands of users I had, would download programs, look at them, and if they're good, upload them onto other boards where they're downloaded. Within a week, I had 5 million users of that program. 2 weeks later, the Jerusalem virus stormed the world, a virus with a radically different approach to survival. The Pakistani Brain was a boot sector virus. And when you turn your computer on, they don't have boot sectors anymore. You've got your ROMs. So who gives a shit? Same thing, same principle. It goes and says, where's my bootstrap? Which is the code that loads the operating system. So it went in and replaced the boot sector, the first kilobyte of code to load in the operating system. And instead of loading in the operating system, it loaded in itself. It was then the operating system. Brilliant, fucking brilliant. But anyway, so the Jerusalem virus, no, one step above that, it goes, okay, someone said, oh, this McAfee dude figured out how to stop boot sectors. He can't stop this. They would take the actual applications, modify the applications, insert their own code, just like a fucking living virus does. And then they own the world. Every time you run that app, you're infected, and it moves on.
Once you saw your application take off and get a bunch of users like that, did you have the intention of starting a business with it? Did it click at that point?
No, of course not.
It was all accident, right?
Listen, all success is an accident. Nobody makes a plan. People, if you think, oh, I've got a great idea, I'm going to build this and do this and get funding, you will not succeed. You will fail 100% of the time. No, success is just something that happens while you're having fun. Do you understand? Ignore success, have the fun. It came by. That was the most fun I had had in 25 years. Technologically, it was like, wow. No. And so 3 months later, I had $15 million in the bank. And a year later, hundreds of millions. Without trying, people. I wasn't trying to make that money. It simply came because I grabbed an opportunity. My brother-in-law, normally I ignored the motherfucker, right? He's been with us for 2 years. But he was, I heard the word computer virus. And since I heard that, what the fuck is that? Give me the paper.
And
so,
then that,
luck.
Yeah. Well, I mean, genius, a stroke of genius, maybe, and an accident like you talked about. You're having fun. You were just trying to solve a problem at the end of the day, right?
Yes.
What happened then? Once you started making all that kind of money, then you eventually went to an IPO process, right? And I've heard you say in other places, other podcasts, you hate that. Tell us about what is it like taking a company?
I didn't need money. I did not need money. Listen, in the entire history of venture capital, only one person has ever taken that venture capital money and put it in his pocket instead of the company. That was me. I didn't need money. The $10 million they gave me was nothing. That's my dinner money. By that time, no. I needed their expertise because I knew I had a tiger by the tail, and I did not have the organizational skills, the financial skills at that level, the marketing skills, the sales skills, the organizational, the human resource skills to build a company that clearly was going to be, well, when it was sold to Intel, $8 billion. I wasn't prepared for that shit. And I knew I could not do it. And I was either going to become a mediocre company and still have $1 billion to my name, or I was going to have to get in bed with somebody and become the world leader in antivirus software and computer security. And that's what I did. Got in bed with, and I'm not just one, two. And two deadly competitors, which is why I chose them both. They're not going to collectively screw me, maybe individually, but they ain't going to cooperate. They hate each other. Summit Partners and TA Associates each gave me $5 million. And I said, the $5 million does not go in this company. That's mine. I'll be clear. Because listen, we were already making more money than God. I didn't need money. I needed partners. And in turn, they got 49% of the company. Well, they did their job and took me public, and we did become the world's leader in antivirus and computer security. Well, fuck me. I think I did the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's it. But no, I would do not do that, not up front. Now, I would never, ever do that up front, because I think if you need money, you're doing the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck do you need money for? I never ask anybody for a dime. It cost me nothing to write that program, put it up on the bulletin board half a day. Checks started pouring in 3 months later. Well, I just took him to the bank. No.
What do you think your fondest memory is of that escalation to the point where you did the IPO and then IPO and eventually got sold to Intel for $8 billion? If there was one point, what was the most fondest part of it? Was it just the whole journey?
When I left it in 1992, when I realized that what the company had become was no longer me,
mm-hmm.
it was no longer anything that was enjoyable, and certainly not something I loved. I mean, I was spending my time dealing with stockholders, boards of directors, personnel issues. Fuck me. When I was starting, I was on the front line, writing the goddamn code, saving the world. Well, fuck me, that was fun. Boards of directors meetings, they shoot me in the head.
Mm-hmm.
So I walked out just without any ado. I just walked into, first of all, I didn't just abandon the company. I hired a replacement, Bill Larson, senior vice president at the time at IBM. Hired him as CEO for an astonishing fucking salary and benefits, millions of dollars per year in salary, plus benefits that would set him for life. Why? Because he was young, ambitious, self-centered. That's what you need for a CEO. He went 33 consecutive quarters in Silicon Valley of double-digit growth for McAfee. No company in human history has ever done that. And then he fucked up because it was clear he was not going to make that quota one quarter. So he stuffed the channel. I don't know what that means. It means you've got a worldwide distribution that's selling, $50 million or $100 million a month in product. And you know exactly kind of what the trends are because you got the mathematics, statistics, and software to figure it out. But instead of okay, so we're going to ship Siberia, instead of 200,000, we're going to ship them 300,000 this month, right? Mm-hmm. As soon as you ship it, you get to put it on the bottom line. But he got caught, and then he had to resign. Greed does strange things for people. So anyway, when I hired him, when I saw that this motherfucker is going to do some serious shit, I then went in and said, I quit. He thought it was a joke. I said, no, it's not a joke. He said, you take my office, I'm walking out. I'm not ever coming back. And I did. I walked out and I went back.
What do you think what was the hardest moment of that whole run up? Or, or was it the boring stuff or?
There was no boring stuff, dude. I didn't have any hard moments. I mean, we had tough decisions and we had tricky problems, but those tricky problems were the fun. I remember we got the whale virus, the first encrypted virus, because we were operating on the principle, well, the virus has got a genetic code. We just look for it, we kill it. But then some son of a bitch in the hacker world said, well, we're going to encrypt ourselves. You're not going to be able to see our genetic code because every copy of our virus is going to look different. Well, fuck me. When I got a copy of that virus and I saw what it did, I felt my entire tech staff, which is 4 people, Igor Karminsky, Ari Goretsky, Dennis Shell, and me. Fuck. And I said, guys, we have a serious fucking problem. And I showed them the virus, I showed them the printouts, I showed them the shit, and everybody's going, whoa. So I said, well, let me try first. Meanwhile, you guys have got any ideas? Work it out, see if you can get some algorithm for me that can find anything They had even encrypted the encryptor, which is part of the virus. So it's, so now I kept looking. I remember I got the virus at 2 p.m. I met with the guys at 7 o'clock at night, and I was up all night. And at 5:30 in the morning, I'm looking at this tiny little piece of code going, God damn, I keep seeing that. Because what we would do is we would take the virus, we would infect 1,000 programs, and then take them all apart and see if we could find anything in any of the programs, which is common. And then I kept seeing this string of about, 100 or more bytes. So I kept going back and looking, sure as fuck, in every single copy of the virus was the same in different locations. Same thing. And this is after we decrypted it, by the way, because we could decrypt it, because it had to decrypt itself. All we had to do is run it. It decrypted itself. However, the decrypted copy encrypted itself in memory. It's just a weird fucker. But they made not a mistake. They missed this logical thing in transition. You have to have a link. And we found the link. I found the link. And that was my triumph. That was the day I realized that we're going to win, people.
Yeah.
Black hats are not going to win this fucking fight.
Yeah.
And that was a fine moment for me.
Okay.
The whale virus, that was its name, believe it or not. You can look up the history.
Okay. Well, now you've shifted gears from looking at viruses, much differently and now you're looking at them from the point of insertion and where are they attacking things, right? Talk a little bit about that, of how you've shifted your thinking.
Well, it's not me, it's the world. First of all, let me say right up front, if you're expecting some great piece of information on how to protect yourself, it ain't happening, because you can't.
Mm-hmm.
There's no more privacy. There's no more security. And I want to tell you why. So, in the beginning, the attack vector was simple. Infected software. We call it malware today, right? Infected software. You download something, a friend gives you a disk which is infected, whatever. Nobody does that shit anymore. Why? Because to build a computer virus is up to a 2-man-year effort. Well, fuck me, who's got the time anymore? Nobody uses technical means. The world has shifted to a thing called social engineering. Let's say listen, if you as a hacker wanted to break into the CEO's private account, God damn, it's going to take you 50 people in 2 years. But if you're smart, you'll get someone hired on at the company for whatever, washing the floor. Make sure they're overqualified and don't want much. Washing the floor, who gives a shit? We need to know who the CEO's secretary is. We need to know da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Now, we want photos of the secretary. We want everything we can get about her name, address, so on and so on. Now, why? Because we all know that a CEO's secretary knows way more than the CEO and does, in fact, have his private keys and is more than likely fucking him. So now, we get a picture. We find out all we can about it. We get some social engineers involved. They go, you know what? Based on her history of finding Italian boyfriends and getting beat up and repeating it over and over, we need to find the perfect Italian boyfriend who is the gentlest motherfucker on this planet. And we need to park his car right next to hers in the parking lot. And he needs to be fumbling with his keys as she approaches, or whatever. 2 weeks later, we own the CEO, whether he's fucking or not. So that's social engineering, people. What did it cost? Well, I don't know. $10,000 max. How long did it take? 3 months max. Instead of 50 people for 2 goddamn years? No. So how do you defend yourself against that? You can't. See, we've been using technology to save ourselves from ourselves. Do you understand? We are foolish people. We trust those who can't be trusted, which is everybody. And if you doubt that, please read history of Rome and the emperors who were whacked by their wives, their children, their fathers, their brothers. No, please, this is the world.
Yeah.
So we we have to take
Speaking of
responsibility for ourselves here. Yes.
Sure. Speaking of CEOs like that, what are your thoughts on two major business figures right now and their companies? So those being Jeff Bezos and Amazon, Elon Musk and Tesla/SpaceX, and what they're doing right now. Do you have any opinion on those and their success?
How would I know what they're doing? I mean, all the information I get is from the mainstream media, from social media. I'm not on their board. I don't even work there. Nobody has a fucking clue about either man. Here's the problem. We watch the news and think we know. Children, wake the fuck up. You know jack shit. I know nothing. I met Elon Musk once. I've never met, well, maybe with Jeff Bezos once. Bill Gates a few times. I'm not in that stratosphere, and I don't rub shoulders with these people. So I wouldn't have no fucking clue what either of them are really doing, and neither do you, neither does anybody who is not either sleeping with them or in partnership with them. Wake up, people. You don't have truth from the news. So I can't answer you.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't know anything about either guy.
Fair enough. Well, so you talked about, as we've adopted all of this technology, I've got a spy machine right here, right? The iPhone and everything. What about driverless cars? Do you have any take on those of as we start to uptake this technology, the positives and the negatives of when we do that?
Well, I think driverless cars have to be the future. I mean, what causes accidents today? Stupidity, distraction, alcohol, drugs, anger, fear. Good God Almighty, to let people drive is the insanity. And we do have the technology now that can save us. Sure, every now and then you get thrown into a guardrail or burned alive. Well, I'm sorry, this is the price of progress, okay? No, it has to happen. We need to get out of the things which we fuck ourselves over with and into the things that we refuse to think about because the results of that mentation scares us. What if we threw everybody out of the government? What if we accepted the fact that all people are two people and one of them loves and is caring and has compassion, hopes, dreams, is generous and kind, and the other is jealous, greedy, afraid, wicked, angry. We are two people. And if you expect anything that tries to get those two halves to compromise, to create anything whatsoever, then you need to move out of your mother's basement and see the real world.
Yeah. Let me hit you with some rapid fire questions here. If there was one drug you could recommend for anybody to try, what would it be?
Recommend for what? I mean, for self-evaluation, for sex, for contemplation,
self-evaluation.
For being kissed. Self-evaluation. Let me run them all by you. How's
okay.
That? Self-evaluation, LSD. You want some introspective moments? Pop in a fallacy and just be by yourself and hope for the best. Oh, fuck yes. Sex, MDPV. The most extreme sex drug ever fucking created. You want to be kissed by God? Heroin, hands down, the only drug that will let you physically experience God coming down from heaven and planting lips on your lips. You want to sit and evaluate your relationship with the world? Psilocybin, the magic mushrooms. Please tell me what you want. There are thousands. I could go on forever, my friend.
That was perfect. Do you have a favorite artist?
Whoa. Yes, I have multiple favorite artists. For artists that bend your mind, MC Escher. For artists that take the human spirit and magnify it by 1,000, Gauguin. For artists that want to show the horror of the human spirit, Hieronymus Bosch, hands fucking down. For artists that want to show the sensitivity of the human soul.
How about favorite author?
Magic. Favorite author? For what again? I mean, for understanding the nature of life is Charles Darwin. For understanding the possibilities of human ambition would be Ayn Rand. For understanding the absurdity of life, Stanislaw Lem. And for the most beautiful verbal description of the fucking reality of this world, William Shakespeare. Good God, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day to the last syllable of recorded time, while all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out with candle. Life is but a walking, fucking shadow. A poor player who struts and frets his hour upon the stage and is seen no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Now you tell me what words strung together in any shorter number can describe despair to its utter fucking bare bones.
Favorite book?
Charles Darwin's Origin of Species. That's the only thing I can ever say, which is absolutely, if I could only read one book ever, it would be Charles Darwin's Origin of Species.
Kanye, yay or nay?
My wife is black. I got to say yay.
Yeah, got to say yay. You got to say yay. Yeah. Last questions to wrap this up. Two of them. Knowing what you know now, what advice would you give yourself before you starting your very first business? If you could go back in time. Nothing.
I would never change anything I've ever done. But if I want to give advice to young people getting into business, don't do it planned. Don't have an idea and think you'll get rich. Ideas have zero value. We all have them hundreds or thousands of times a day, and they're all great. No. Ideas have zero value. Opportunities have all the value. And opportunities don't give a shit about what your plans are. Like the virus thing. And it's the same for everybody. Bill Gates, it was all pure luck that IBM came to him because his only competitor said, I don't know, I got to think about it. IBM said, okay, we got no time to think. Went up to Bill Gates, he said, yes, therefore Microsoft was created. No, it's all opportunity. Why do few people take it? Because it requires balls. It requires risk. And if you latch on to one of those things, your life is going to change and you will have no control over it. That change. You may lose your wife, your family, your car, your house. You may get rich, but you will have an adventure. And thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you for being on today. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, don't forget to leave us a 5-star review on the iTunes app. Tip your barista, and we'll see you next week for more Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm.